Chúng con mang phép quý ngài cho chúng con ít phút để ổn định đạo tràng. Hôm nay nơi công viên chùa Huệ Quang, những giọt mưa đã đổ xuống để tiễn đưa cho hương linh của ông Nguyễn Văn Thành từ là anh Ba Thành Mỹ. Ngày hôm nay sẽ là ngày di quan an táng. Trời đổ những giọt mưa buồn nhỏ xuống để nói lên những tâm tư và tấm lòng của những người con. Quý vị còn đứng ở bên ngoài, xin quý vị vào những dãy ghế để chúng ta sớm ổn định đạo tràng. Trước khi chúng con bắt đầu cho buổi lễ ngày hôm nay, xin mời ban nhạc chúng ta dựng lên một bản nhạc để tưởng nhớ đến hương linh anh Nguyễn Văn Thành từ anh Ba Thành Mỹ. Xin mời ban nhạc được bắt đầu. Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Ngưỡng bái bạch Hòa Thượng chứng minh, Hòa Thượng sám chủ, hiện tiền chư tôn tình đức tăng ni, chứng minh cho tang lễ hương linh của ông Nguyễn Văn Thành từ anh Ba Thành Mỹ, pháp danh chân thiền sáng hôm nay. Ngưỡng bái bạch quý ngài, sự ra đi của hương linh Nguyễn Văn Thành đó là một sự mất mát lớn lao cho toàn thể gia đình, con cháu, thân bằng quyến thuộc. Sự sống nối liền với cái chết. Theo lời Đức Phật đã chỉ dạy, thì một con người sanh ra giữa cuộc đời này, ai cũng phải trải qua sanh lão bệnh tử. Nhưng trước sự ra đi của người chồng, người cha, người ông vô vàn kính yêu của chúng con, làm sao chúng con không đau xót thương nhớ, vì người đã suốt cả cuộc đời tận tụy lo cho những người con, từ khi lọt lòng cho đến lúc trưởng thành khôn lớn lên người, với bao nhiêu ân đức, với bao nhiêu nghĩa tình, hôm nay đã lặng lẽ ra đi để lại bao niềm thương tiếc. Và trong buổi lễ hiển điện tưởng niệm, hiện tiền di quan hôm nay, người con trai thứ 5 sẽ đại diện cho tất cả những người con hiền cháu thảo có đôi lời phát biểu trong buổi lễ hôm nay. Xin trân trọng kính mời anh.
dear friends, family, và các thầy, sư cô và hòa thượng. I thank you for coming to comfort my mother and our family, and to say farewell to my father. It's difficult to accept and to comprehend my father is no longer with me. As a little boy, I never felt my father spent enough time with me. I always wanted more time with him. Now, looking back through the lens of time, I realize I was so enamored with him, like a kid with a favorite pet. I wanted to spend all the time I could with him. I relished the times he would cut my hair. He'd do his best to style it like the tennis player Jimmy Connors. I love the weekends because he would take my brothers and me to the tennis courts, and we would literally spend time there from morning to night. We only left after it was too dark to see. I had so much fun plucking his whiskers from his chin with tweezers. I guess he didn't like to shave back then. Anytime he would take us somewhere special, he would dress me and take careful attention to comb my hair. Many nights, up until the time I left for college, I would sometimes wait to hear him snoring in my bed beside me. No, he spent plenty of time with me. I just didn't realize it, and I just wanted more. I continue to tell myself, since his passing, I should be content, even grateful, to have had him in my life the past 50 years. But my God, despite praying for the angels to quickly take my father from this earth, to escape the escalating pain and suffering he would soon be stricken with, I just want more time with him. Dad, please forgive me. I wasn't strong enough to stand beside you, to fight for you, to fight with you. I could not bear to see you suffer. One day, 3 days, even 12 hours. I just wish that I could tell you my reason for asking, praying for you to pass. I pray that you understand. I miss my father so much. I now understand the pain and grief my beautiful wife Tina has endured with the passing of her father, my father-in-law, only 7 weeks prior. I miss both of them so very much. Early Saturday morning, on December 11th, my beloved father succumbed to the complications of his battle with lung cancer. He fought a brave battle. He fought hard. On many occasions, he could have lost this fight cancer picked with him, but each time he managed to recover. Unfortunately, never beating it back. He stepped into the ring, answering one bell after the next, to fight. He'd fight, I don't think, for himself. He fought for my mother, for my siblings, and myself. And he fought for his grandchildren. My goodness, how he loved and adored his grandchildren. He wanted to live to see the youngest of his grandchildren grow older, to see some graduate college, and to see the older ones married. On Thanksgiving night, after dinner, while we were having dessert, and boy, did my father love ice cream, cookies, and cake. I asked him to please stay strong, to take care of his health, to see Brandon, my son, graduate college. I wanted to give him more to fight for. He replied to me, I can wait, son, he said to me. He was always so optimistic, always so positive about his health. But this time in his voice, I did not hear the conviction of his optimism. I played along, but I was heartbroken. Dad, you will see your youngest grandchildren grow older. You will see your grandchildren go to college, and you will see grandchildren marry and start their own families. You will see all of this, just from a different vantage point. I know you will be looking down, high in the sky, from God and Buddha's heaven. Of this, I have no doubt. My father was something of a paradox. He wasn't Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but for every trait he had, he seemed to possess the opposite as well. The first contradiction that stands out in my mind is this. My father was a gentle, loving, charitable man. He raised his 5 children with patience, understanding, very, very seldom ever becoming angry, hardly ever scolding any one of us. He guided and taught us his wisdom with gentle, kind words. On the flip side, I've heard him described as having the temper of a tiger, but none other than his own mother. He was hard and formidable to those who he needed to be. I have many stories and have witnessed, to the detriment of the rascals who triggered my dad, his fearsome alter ego. I will save these stories for another occasion. My father worked hard, along with my mother, to build 3 successful and well-known restaurants. The restaurant industry is one of the toughest to find success, but he worked by hardly working. By any measure, he spent an inordinately few number of hours each day doing it. To illustrate my point, I give you his daily schedule, and this is the honest truth. He would wake between 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., arrive at our restaurant after 2 p.m. to read a paper while having lunch. Then he would do work, whatever that was. By 5:30, he would be off to the tennis courts, and he would return to the restaurant by 8:30 p.m. with a large table of friends, sometimes more, have dinner and drinks, and then several more drinks after. Like clockwork, this would be repeated daily for 30 years. My father was a man of few words, although in his later years, he would happily engage in talks about politics, sports, his past in Vietnam. I remember him as a man who would rather enjoy the banter of his friends at their table than monopolize their time with his own words. He would love to hear how my children were doing in school, what activities they're involved in, how they're doing in sports, only to offer in Vietnamese, "Nói giỏi quá," followed by a satisfied chuckle. Although he said little, when he spoke, he seemed to easily capture the attention and hearts of those who would hear him. And as for those 3 words and the soft chuckle he would give me regarding my 2 boys, those words were more than enough for me. My father was frugal, yet extravagant. He was not one to spend money freely on himself. He liked to save money for his children. A week before he passed, he told me he had a lot of cash that he kept from the monthly salary and profit from his Chinese restaurants. He sold those restaurants something like a dozen years ago. He said to me from his hospital bed, "I hardly spent any of it." He kept everything for his children. Each time Tina and I would give him a new pair of loafers or a new jacket, he would gripe about spending too much money for these things. He would gripe about a pair of shoes. When I or any of my siblings needed a big check for an investment or a down payment for a property, he would unhesitatingly write a 6-figure check without flinching. He was extravagant with us because all his life, he and my mother worked only to provide for us. Dad, I don't know what my brothers and sisters and I did to deserve a father like you, but we are truly grateful to have had you be the shoulders that we've stood on for our entire lives. A good friend of mine told me I would see my father soon. He said, I will see my father, say hello when I see my reflection in the mirror. I will see my dad when my boys give me a certain look. I will see my dad when I perform an act he instilled in me. I love you, Dad. Come back. I miss you. I will miss your deeply warm smile and sparkling eyes each time I saw you. I hope to see you soon. Ba ngủ ngon, ba chào trời Phật. A Di Đà Phật.
Dạ, kính thưa quý hòa thượng bà tước Khanh ni, kính thưa ông bà, cô chú, bác và anh chị em. Con tên là Nguyễn Viên, con là con trai út của mẹ con là Nguyễn Hồng Hằng, con gái của ông ngoại. Bây giờ con xin phép được nói bằng tiếng Anh. I grew up in Northern California and didn't get to spend much time with my grandfather growing up. I regret not making more of an effort to, but I'm extremely grateful and honored to have gotten to know him a little better over the last couple of years. I learned that my grandfather was a simple, yet kind and loving man. In the time that I spent with him, his days were simple. Khanh talked about this earlier. He would wake up, take 2 to 3 hours to get up and get ready, do his throat-clearing coughs that echoed through the house, meticulously organize his belongings, and head to the restaurant. After having a meal at his corner table and reading the newspaper, he would head to the tennis courts to meet his lifelong buddies. I remember when we were quarantined, he would find clever ways to trick me into bringing him out to the courts. Afterwards, it was back to the restaurant until the wee hours of closing. I remember growing up and seeing him come home very late at night, eating KFC and watching TV. Day in and day out, this was his routine. He was a simple man of little words, but his heart spoke loudly. I can speak for all of my cousins when I say that our grandfather had a specific way of showing his love. Con ăn chưa? Đi ra nhà hàng ăn đi. Con ăn cái gì ở nhà hàng ở ngoài mang về cho. He never really said too much to us, but we always felt his love. Whether that be a short phone call just to hear our voices, or as he shared his pride and joy, tenderly, with us. That and the pinching of cheeks and wet smooches. Book bang của ông ngoại, he would say as he kind of grabbed my cheeks. I didn't like it at the time. My grandfather was a gentle soul, at least as long as I've known him. I've heard some crazy stories from before my time. He was kind to and loved by everyone he met. When he was upset or raised his voice, it was always out of love. He always just wanted things to be just and fair, and that his family was on the right path. None of us would be where we are without the sacrifices that he made. We would not enjoy the comfort that we do without the hard labor, frugality, and hardship that he endured. We would not have found the success that we have without the values of education, strength, and hard work that he instilled in us. Học giỏi, ông ngoại thương, echoes in my head often as I'm at school. And we would not have the togetherness that we cherished as a family without the loving example that he set for us. Cảm ơn ông ngoại cho tất cả ông ngoại làm cho tụi con. Không có thế nào tụi con có thể trả ơn ông ngoại. Nhưng mà tụi con sẽ xin hứa sẽ tiếp tục ráng học giỏi, giúp người, với lại lúc nào cũng thương nhau. Con thương ông ngoại nhiều lắm, cũng ngon ông ngoại.
Vừa rồi là người cháu ngoại của cụ ông Nguyễn Văn Thành Và giờ đây là bảo huynh của